Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it is They Made What into a TV series, The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 3. We're almost at the halfway point of the season, if you can believe that already. And following the obviously insane events from Episode 2, I went in believing we were going to... no part of me was under any impression that we weren't going to slow down. We had to. You can't keep that level of energy from the next one. And obviously, you kind of need to let this stuff sink. But I was still intrigued to sort of see how they handle it. In particular, the sort of grieving process and the difficulties around that. Now, personally, I think they don't necessarily do it quite right, in my opinion here. I think they might rush it a little bit too much here, kind of trying to move the story forward. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I feel like we could have maybe spent a little bit more time with certain elements, but I'm torn on this one, Damon, because I want the story.
Yeah,
I don't want the story to get bogged down, being like everybody's sad because Joel died or others died. But like, I
yeah,
also think, man, let it rest a bit. I don't know.
yeah. I've got a few criticisms too. You know, I said, I might, and this is from season one too, and obviously now to season two. But I think this show has a habit of there's a massive episode, you know, explosions, everyone dies, blah blah blah, and then it goes to a lull. You know, it goes to very very slow, very very boring. Then bang bang bang, high energy. Then back to low, then
Oh,
higher.
it's
Yeah,
up. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if they should have done like maybe done a bit of like the attack on the Jacksonville place, and then maybe done Joel's death in this one, and then maybe could have edged that out a bit more. Maybe I don't know, but yeah,
I don't know. I agree. I don't quite know. I know what you mean, though. It is up then down, up then down, up then down in regards of speed and action and stuff like that. But I don't know what the answer to it is, aside from all I can talk from a viewer perspective, which is, was I entertained by this episode? Truth be told, middling on this one. In that
yeah,
I enjoyed aspects of it, and we'll talk about those aspects. Similar to our other episode reviews, we're going to talk about the highlights as we kind of cross through the episode, rather than each individual moment and moments that impressed you or disappointed you. But when I thought back to it, and I only watched this as of the time recording less than 12 hours ago, maybe 8 hours ago.
yeah. Me too.
You know, I realize I don't remember too much about it.
I mean, literally, 54-minute episode. Maybe a few small points I can point at, but other than that, it was
It's
yeah,
set up.
it was
It's
okay.
set up. This is what I described it to my wife. I said, what they're doing here is setting up the second half of the season and the
Mhm.
big part of things. They've dealt with that big part, the big thing that they had to deal with Joel's death, and now they need to set up the second part of the show where we're going, which of course is Seattle and all of that stuff. That's what needs to happen. I kind of got that. And then obviously by time jumping, you allow them to move the story at a faster pace, basically. Because otherwise, here's the thing, then. I didn't want it to be weeks and weeks and weeks of people just moping around. Like, that would have been horrible as well. I am appreciative of the time jump and how they handle that. Right, so I have seen criticism of this online. Now, this is just generally what I've seen people criticize, and I think is wrong. I actually think people are seeing it. I think people are wrong on this front, but this is just a personal thing more than anything else. I have noticed that people are being critical of Ellie, saying like, oh, basically, people seem to be thinking that because she's not going around moping all the time, and basically she uses humor, sarcastic humor, to deflect, that is some sort of bad writing and not a good character. And I asked this: are they watching the same show? I am now
Mm.
convinced that these people are doing this out of bad faith. That they're A, they're not watching the show, or B, they're constantly going, here's my video game, here's this empty, and because the two don't match,
Yeah.
they're, and of course, the third person, the third group, the ones that just hate Bella Ramsey and wanna be mean to the person nonetheless. But if you watch this episode and did not see moments where she allows herself to be fucking vulnerable, that her entire character is I have to pretend. Which is there's a reason why she waits to be alone, to show her weakness. She doesn't want to show weakness to people. So she deflects all of that with sarcasm and crass humor and stuff like that. But we see, honestly, my favorite scene, right, from this episode is her walking down the hallway. The camera fixating, and you see her face slowly change from being cocky, cocky, cocky to just becoming stony faced. Like, that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
I liked her emotions with crying into Joel's jacket.
Joe's
I thought
jacket, yeah.
yeah, very very good acting that was.
Yeah, even the bit in the gravestone where you're like,
Yeah.
you might be thinking, paying attention. What does she leave? She leaves coffee beans. This goes back to his love of coffee and her dislike of it. It's just a touch between the pair of them. Like, I feel honestly, like, I don't really read reviews, but I do kind of go on social media and then kind of see what people are saying in general. And for the most, it's positive. But when you reach those people who are negative, and don't get me wrong, an opinion and review, it's all the same as ours. It's no different. But I do
Yeah.
question when they're like, oh my God, she's so terrible as Ellie. This is not my Ellie and all that. I'm like, I get it because if you care, like we've done it with video game characters and bad representation, but I don't necessarily think this is a bad representation. I don't even think it's that crazy of a different representation, you
I
know?
mean, I think that the directors and the writers have got to be given some major praise because other than one or two little minor things, which people have got to get, it is impossible to do word for word a video game to TV show. It's impossible,
And
but
we
they have
shouldn't
done
want it either. We shouldn't want that either.
no, exactly. But they've done a very very good job in my opinion.
Yeah. And I agree. We are in agreement to this. I'm not saying this show is perfect, folks. And this episode is a good example where maybe they just slow things down too much and does some of it doesn't quite work. Um, there's an area that I'm not entirely sure I'm into yet, and I'm hoping it's going to grow. Well, let's talk about some of these points. So obviously, I loved how it starts. I love the fact we immediately jump to Jodis being back, and I think the quiet washing of the hands and the cleaning up the body is a very sweet moment. And obviously, it goes without saying, but Gabriel Luna is killing it in this role, killing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 100%.
I actually think his the changes, and here's a good example. Why aren't people getting angry about the changes to his character? Why is it
Yep.
always Ellie? Or is it because, oh, you just don't like Bella Ramsey? Because Bella Ramsey is non-binary and goes as they, them, and does that bother you that fucking much? But you don't go after
Yeah.
Gabriel Luna, whose character has significantly changed, including the plot points for what we have here.
Isn't he
Why,
supposed
why
to?
is that okay?
Isn't he supposed to? He's the first one he goes after the
Exactly,
group. Yeah,
he's the one going
yeah,
off
yeah.
to do the fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the one doing that. Correct? I can't believe that. It's just like all over the fucking place doing that
Mhm.
stuff, and I don't know. Like I just wonder why he doesn't get the same level of criticism, right?
I mean, you
We
answer
know why.
yourself.
We know why.
Yeah,
We know why.
yeah, exactly.
At
Because
least, at least from a certain group, a certain group. Now, we're not,
yeah,
I know we are. I don't want to let this drop. I do not want to gloss over the fact that these people make me sick to my stomach. We're saying it every episode. I'm saying it again. But anyway, but Gabriel Luna's killing it, and I thought this was a really sweet scene. And I was glad then we kind of jumped 3 months later to sort of show Jackson. You said Jacksonville earlier on. Jacksonville is in Florida.
uh,
No,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is Jackson. I
Jackson,
understand, but yeah, not Jacksonville, the home of the Jaguars. Jackson kind of rebuilding life and kind of people getting on with it, but also see the toll it took on them. And I love the fact they've kind of slipped into certain new roles. You see a great scene between Tommy
yeah, yeah,
and Jesse, where
yeah,
it
brilliant.
implies that Tommy's seeing Jesse as a future leader, someone to really take control of Jackson, you know?
I saw it as like Tommy's getting older, and then you got the young blood coming through, and he's not as strong as he used to be. So yeah, yeah. But again,
But
no words, but again, brilliant acting between them both.
yeah, he's got a face of admiration as well. I love that as well. I love that we kind of lead towards a council meeting to show that Jackson somehow managed to keep that shit together, which is
Mm.
impressive. And I felt when he was like, "Oh yeah, what? Telling Ellie," because Ellie basically wants to take a group to go. Because right, well, let's actually jump on a major scene then before we get to that. The scene between Dina and Ellie at the table. Fucking hell! How do you watch that scene and not go, "That's just brilliant"? It's tense, it's uncomfortable, like it's handled really well. But you almost get ready. You're waiting for Ellie just to explode, as Ellie does, but she holds it back and kind of. And I guess maybe it's something she might have learned from like losing Joel and not being able to kind of clear things up before it went. Like it's the last thing you want to do now, right? Like
Yeah,
shout at Dina, send her away, and then what? Then what? So I
I
think
mean,
this is brilliant.
I mean, obviously, we can talk about. Obviously, it's been 3 months, so obviously, it all depends on how you define how long grief lasts, and obviously, I,
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's indefinable,
of course,
indefinable. And we
exactly,
see
yeah.
that
So,
because when she first leaves the hospital, she goes back home, cries in his room, and all of that. There's no question. It's just how everybody handles grief differently. That's one of the most
exactly.
incredible things about that particular issue. But yeah, like the hospital scene with the therapist is fun and interesting and stuff like that. But I love this table scene with I really, really did love this table scene with Dina. I thought it was tense, thought it was interesting. I liked that Dina, and I loved the justification as to why she wasn't told the details beforehand because I agreed with her.
100%.
Like, yeah, yeah, you would have reacted badly. You would have wanted to do this. It would have been a problem and stuff like that. I get it. I
Should
do
have got
get
killed.
it. Yeah.
Should have got killed. Should be so angry. Should rage out, charge out there, get killed, and yeah,
But I also like the fact that it's like, well, you wouldn't have been able to track them, so why not wait till you get where they're going? Which, of course, as we should note, is they're part of the Washington Liberation Front, based in Seattle, a militia, basically, in this new world. Yeah, and we're just kind of retelling like the names and stuff. You're like, okay, yeah, all right, this is the hunt now. This is it, because you want these fuckers to get theirs in some way or another. But yeah. So that's one of the major scenes. But of course, this obviously leads to the town meeting, which I felt Ellie's frustration. I was like, when Tommy's talking about, oh yeah, we got to do a meeting and you should think about what, and then Jesse's like, put your words down, write them down, don't get hot-headed. We know he's right and all that, but like, you're like, how has this come to? Don't you're having a meeting about the fact that these people didn't do
yep.
this by accident, sort you out and kill like it's. I get Ellie's frustration. They're like, what are we even doing here?
I mean, during our meeting scene, the geezer, I forgot his name, but the guy who was homophobic before,
Seth,
he
Seth.
he said it best that they've attacked us once, we'll pushovers if we don't go after them.
Yeah.
They'll do it again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think what as well is particularly important, right, is that I think it's particularly important as well. Like they sort them out. It's not like they stumble across you when this was an accidental thing. Now, the only thing about this was I was wondering, well, how much detail do people actually know why they sort out Joel? And I realized they probably don't. And I don't think Ellie would really know why they necessarily sort out Joel.
I wonder if in a flashback we're going to find out that he did tell her. That's why they had the little
No, no,
falling
but
out.
not them. Like why they came. No, no. So that does happen.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. The whole reason they fell out in Jackson, we'll spoil it now for people, is that she's aware.
Mhm.
She's aware of what took place, the killing of the Fireflies and all that. But she wouldn't necessarily know that Abby and the group were part of that originally.
Yeah, true, yeah, true.
Yeah, that's the thing. So there's that aspect anyway. But I really like that meeting. I like that Ellie. It's nice to see the character grow because it would have been really lazy to have her start spitting and snarling and raging. So that she actually does learn something and speaks calmly and all that kind of thing. She managed, you can see her getting frustrated at times, but of course, there's the fact that Seth kind of rises up and sort of speaks for her and agrees that,
Yeah.
like, in a kind of way, which is, it is a nice it's cool that they try and give the character some rehabilitation to a certain degree. Do you know what I mean? Like that. He obviously helps her and Dina later on leave with
Yeah.
supplies and things like
So
that.
one of the
Go
things I'm
on.
going to ask you, okay? So during the vote, do you think that Tommy was a no or a yes?
I think it was a yes.
You think it was a yes? Yeah. Do you
I
think
think he wanted it. I
do
think
you
he
think
wanted to
Jesse?
go. He was arguing for it. He was.
Do you think Jesse and Tommy's wife were yeses and or no's? Because
Oh,
there was three yeses and the rest are
most of
no's.
them no. So I think Jesse said no.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
think
I
so.
think Maria, of course she said no.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think what we haven't seen. So I think what they're going to do is because obviously, basically, it's Tommy that goes right, and then of
Yeah,
course it's Ellie that follows with Dina. I think it's going to reverse it. So
yeah,
obviously, the rest of this episode we don't go back to Jackson, but I think obviously he's going to find out, and he's not. He's going to go after them. I think that's how how it happens, and it's likely to be him and Jesse that go after them.
yeah,
But yeah, so basically they get on the road. Some nice scenes at Joel's grave. There's a scene, sort of just moving, basically, bit of an old school Last of Us vibe, where you're just sort of seeing the world as it is now, grown over, nature taking things back and stuff like that, leading to the tent scene where you kind of have that sort of flirtatious tension again. This is what I didn't necessarily think worked. I'm not entirely convinced about their chemistry.
Mm.
It's not quite there for me. It feels like it could be, but because honestly, most of it's just like, oh, what did you think about that? Like all that kind of stuff. It feels a little too childish for my liking. I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure where this is going. Now, there is a hint towards something, obviously, which is the whole she went back to Jesse while she was in hospital. Well, obviously, it's a story point from the game. Spoilers, folks. Dina's pregnant, and that's going to be an aspect that goes forward as well. So it's
Yeah.
not so much about them becoming a couple, but I don't know. The tenth scene was just a little awkward for me personally.
Tell you what, I said during that before that scene, you had the scene where obviously with the cultists.
Well,
Well, obviously,
I'm gonna roll the
okay, yeah,
cultist stuff into one big
okay,
thing,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, so like yeah, so you want to right? Well, let's jump to the cultist stuff because of course we then introduce what must have been initially confusing to a lot of people, but a certain group that's quite important to the game. It's like God, what are they called? Oh, why have I forgot what they're called?
I can't remember the
Um,
call, but I was calling the the cultist.
well, they are cultists, a religious cultist.
Yeah,
No, I just need to find out. I forgot what the hell.
I can't
Oh,
remember.
what?
Yeah,
They've got a group. They've got a group specifically called something. They are a religious cult, of course. And they have got a name. The
yeah,
Zealots. The Zealots. The
that
religious
sounds good.
cult.
Yeah,
Oh my God, what are they called? This is gonna bug me. Um, I can't remember. Oh no.
yeah,
Oh, why can't I remember what they call? Someone's screaming right now or watching this and going, "It's bloody called this." What are they called? Religious. Seraphites. The Seraphites.
okay, yeah,
There
yeah,
we go. I just googled a
yeah,
question. The Seraphites. So we kind of see a group of them. Implies this group might have abandoned and run away, and they're actually kind of trying to go and hide somewhere. You kind of see their scars on their face and the thing and all that. And there's a nice little scene between a father and a daughter.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, that's just that's all there so we can see horrible stuff later on, as we would later see they will get attacked and try to hide. And we'll later see Elliot and Dina come across their butchered bodies. And we know the group, whoever butchered them, was pretty evil because they even killed the kids as well. It's quite an important scene. And
yeah,
that happens when they're kind of outside Seattle. And really, it's mostly just them traveling until they get out to the outskirts of Seattle. We kind of see the buildings in disarray, and we see one of the groups kind of watching, keeping an eye out things from high up, sort of giving the all clear for a militia group to start moving through the streets. And the episode sort of ends with that big ass militia group just showing us the scale of that militia group.
yeah. And so, what did you think of the? I mean, I personally found it terrible. It looked terrible, but the buildings, it was terrible green screen or CGI. It looked
Well,
really
it's green
bad.
screen CGI'd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
Mm.
But uh, I didn't worry about it. I didn't love it, but I didn't
Yeah.
like. To me, it's not crazy. It's not a
And
crazy thing, you know.
one of my issues too towards the end was, and it was always going to happen. You know, I was getting some really Walking Dead vibes. Okay, all you needed was and Rick Grimes on the back of the horse,
Of
and
course,
you know, and obviously with the soldiers walking through the town, it's literally it was always going to happen because they're so both similar. You
of
know,
course,
one's
yeah.
zombies, one's an infection. So
It's post-apocalyptic worlds, dude.
yeah,
A post-apocalyptic worlds, and like there's the similarities are there, but with one major difference. And I actually jokingly talked about Walking Dead while I was watching it too. And this is why I like this show. If this was The Walking Dead, and this is going to be critical of The Walking Dead, which deserves criticism plenty
yeah,
of times. And I stopped watching halfway through, but back in the early days, I remember like they would stop at a place and the story would stop dead, and we would get like 6 episodes in one place where nothing really happened except characters talked over and over again about the same thing. That's what The Walking Dead did. If this was doing The Walking Dead, we wouldn't have left Jackson already, and we certainly would not have got to Seattle by the end of it. We'd still be Ellie and whatever that have stopped somewhere and had another 15-minute talk. I know that's like being a bit egregious about The Walking Dead. It's a great show and it's very popular
yeah,
for a lot of reasons. But I'm just using that as an example of where I do like The Last of Us going, hey, we don't really want to hang around at this, we need to move this forward. The story needs to move forward. What we're going to do, show you Dina and Ellie slowly getting to, and every so often
Yeah.
stopping and getting into an affection fight. No, no, no.
No, I do think that at some point in the journey, they should have bumped into some kind of affection, whether it be one or two.
No.
You don't think that
No,
at all?
because the whole
It's a
thing,
long,
no, because the whole thing is about clumping as groups. There's not going to be one random infected wandering around because it'll probably, the mushrooms will have grown it to the wall, all these different things. Not if they're like, who's to say they didn't though? Just because you don't see it, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, the problem is you can't be shown everything. And remember, this is a video game adaptation. So, like, that's a bit of a problem as well. But I don't disagree that it did feel like, okay, we started this episode with kind of just the aftermath of Jackson, and by the end of it, we're in Seattle already. Like, don't get me wrong, that is a bit. I'm not entirely sure what I'm after. Basically, I don't
yeah,
really know what I'm after. I'm happy enough to move at a decent pace, but I also recognize that I moved a little too fast. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I don't know how long it takes from one to get to the other, but it would definitely been a few days because obviously we've seen them sleep in their tents.
I think longer, maybe potentially longer, particularly in horseback. You're not
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
fucking car. Do you know what I mean? You're in horseback.
yeah,
Like but like there were lots of little touches as well. Like I think it's well worth sort of noting, right? So if you didn't, this is really right. So Dina, when she finds the dead bodies, right, of the Seraphites, the
yeah,
escaped Seraphite group, she vomits. Did you notice that?
yeah,
I thought that was really weird at first, but then until I remembered why. Because I was
yeah,
like, this can't be her first time seeing dead bodies. This is insane, right? Now she tries
yeah,
to brush it off and says it's the smell. Now, and that would no doubt be right. But even then, I'm like, you would probably have been smelling dead. Like, particularly you were in Jackson post
yeah,
the fucking cleanup. It would have stunk and all of that. It would have been bad. It's because she's fucking pregnant.
yeah,
So the like, those
yeah.
issues, like potentially combination of early morning sickness mixed with the smell of the dead and all that, like it's gonna cause her more issues. She may not even know she's pregnant yet.
And bearing in mind that it's been 3 months too, because obviously, so she's at that stage of morning sickness too. So
Oh no, but I don't know. But that would imply that she got like if she was 3 months, she'd be showing. No, no, I think you're
mm,
the 3 months. That would imply that maybe that she got pregnant on month one. She could have been
yeah,
2 weeks
yeah,
ago. I don't like. It's very early, but it's just sort of implying to me that basically implied to me that it's very easy thing to dismiss and be like, well, no, the smell of dead might just have affected her. This, you know what I mean, like stuff like that. But I think it's more of a hint towards that than anything
yeah,
else. But overall, like I said, this is an episode I think that kind of just moves along slowly and is there just to set up what comes next more than anything else. It's highly unlikely what we get next, the next episode, is going to be another fast-paced one. Because obviously in Seattle, what we are kind of leaning towards is an all-out war between two different groups. So be interested to see what happens next, right?
yeah. I've got well, I was going to say I've got a feeling again they're going to do like they're going to do what The Walking Dead does. Again, go back to The Walking Dead, but they're going to do like zombies are no longer the enemy. Really, it's basically human and human. You know,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. Yeah, but I think how it incorporates the two could be interesting nonetheless. But I do think I mean, it is because it's the Seraphites versus the WEF, so there's that element as well. But of course,
yeah,
the story isn't. Remember, the story of The Last of Us was never about the infected; it was about
no, no,
survival.
survival.
And
Yeah,
previously, it was a kind of road trip. It's easy to forget that it was a road trip movie, a show about two characters. Now it's a revenge story of a character. That's kind of how it's going to work out. So I'd always remind people, and perhaps you need to be reminded as well. If you're expecting zombie action, infected action in this, you're watching the wrong show. Go
yeah,
watch something else, folks. If like you are not getting your fill of it, there's plenty of options and opportunities out there. This is not what The Last of Us is. It's nice to have it here and there, but we did just have that in the last episode. There's no reason to expect it now as well, particularly um, like what we'll get in the next kind of going forward more than anything else. I think this is a nice build to the next episode. Keeps things ticking along nicely. May not be the most memorable, but then I'll ask you, do you remember everything from season one? I certainly don't.
often the big battle at the end, the massive battle at the end.
it starts to blur and stuff like that, doesn't it? You know, I remember little bits here and there. So it's like that's just how shows are, particularly when you watch a lot of things. But we're almost at the halfway point. By the time we watch the next episode, we'll be over half done. That is the path. The Last of Us season 2. You got any thoughts you want to share? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.